All right, let's talk about data loss prevention. It's a complicated space, right? You've got terms like enterprise, integrated, and cloud native flying around. So, how in the world do you figure out what's actually the right move for your company in 2025? Well, that's what we're going to figure out today. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to set the stage and look at the huge data challenge pretty much everyone is facing. Then, we'll break down the three big DLP models so you know what's what. After that, we'll get practical and talk about finding your perfect fit. And finally, we'll look ahead beyond the marketing labels. First things first, let's talk about the modern data dilemma. The way we all work has completely transformed, and honestly, our security is still playing catch up. I mean, really think about this for a second. Your teams are everywhere. They're using cloud apps, they're working from home, from coffee shops. Some are probably even using AI tools. So is the security you have in place actually built for that world, or is it kind of stuck in the past? And that really gets to the heart of it. The old idea of just building a giant digital wall around your office, well, that doesn't work when your data and your people aren't inside that wall anymore. It's just not a one-size-fits-all game these days. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a massive shift that industry experts are all over. Gartner puts it perfectly here. The smart security teams are ditching the old, rigid tools and moving to security that actually matches how their business works today. Okay, so if the old way isn't cutting it, what are the real options on the table? Let's get into it and decode the three main paths you can go down for data loss prevention. So, before we dive deep, here's the 30,000-foot view. You've basically got three flavors. First, there's Enterprise DLP. That's the big, traditional powerhouse for deep control. Then you've got Integrated DLP, which is the convenient option, built right into platforms like Microsoft 365. And finally, there's Cloud-Native DLP, the new kid on the block, built for the modern SaaS world. Each one has its pros, but as you can see, each has some pretty important gaps to watch out for. First up, let's talk about the original heavyweight champ, Enterprise DLP, or EDLP. This is that classic, all-encompassing, top-down approach to making sure data stays put. So here's the fundamental trade-off with the enterprise model. On the one hand, you get this incredibly granular, super deep control over everything: email, network traffic, endpoints, you name it. But all that power comes with a price tag. These systems are famous for being complex, expensive, and they can take a long time to get up and running correctly. So who is this really for? Think large, mature companies. The ones in finance or government that have big, dedicated security teams and for whom compliance isn't just a suggestion, it's everything. All right, next up is the easy button option, Integrated DLP. You probably already have this. These are the security features that are bundled right into the big platforms we all use, like Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. Now, the appeal here is obvious, right? It's simple, it's already there, and the upfront cost is low. But, and this is a huge but, the protection pretty much stops at the border of that vendor's world. So if your team is using Slack or Salesforce or any other app outside that ecosystem, you've got some major blind spots. So integrated DLP can make a ton of sense if you're just looking for some basic guardrails and your company's data world is pretty simple. If almost everything you do happens inside one vendor's cloud, it can be a decent place to start. And that brings us to the modern approach, Cloud-Native DLP. This model was basically born in the cloud, for the cloud. It's designed from the ground up for how we actually work today, distributed, fast-paced, and SaaS-first. This is where you can see the focus is totally different. It's all about what's happening right now in the browser, across all your cloud apps, and yeah, even what's being typed into AI tools. The one thing you have to watch out for is making sure it also covers your physical endpoints so you're not just trading one blind spot for another. This is really the go-to for today's agile companies. If your people live and breathe in SaaS applications and you need security that can be deployed in days, not months, this model was built for you. Okay, so we've met the three main players. Now, for the most important part of all, how do you actually pick the right one for your team? And honestly, this piece of advice from Gartner is probably the biggest takeaway here. Forget the flashy marketing labels. The best choice has nothing to do with a product category and everything to do with the reality of how your company operates. So, how do you figure that out? Well, it boils down to asking four key questions. First, what are you actually protecting? Is it customer data, intellectual property, secret sauce? Second, where does your team get their work done? What are the real apps they use every single day? Third, what kind of team do you have? Do you have a whole squad of security experts? And fourth, How much do you need to know about what people are doing to spot potential insider risks? If you can answer those, you'll know which model fits. All right, let's bring it home. The future of data protection isn't really about picking one of these three neat little boxes. It's about finding a solution that's smart enough to give you the best of all worlds. This comparison just lays it out so clearly. You've got the old way on the right, surface-level rules, tons of alerts, blind spots everywhere, and slow manual work. But then you look at the intelligent approach on the left. It's about deep visibility, using AI to understand context, and stopping risks in real time. It's the difference between playing defense and actually getting ahead of the problem. And at the end of the day, it really all comes down to this. Your data is not in one place, your people aren't on one device. Your data protection strategy has to be just as flexible and dynamic as your business is. Period. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Take a good, hard look at the security tools you have in place right now and ask yourself, are they protecting how you work today in 2025, or are they protecting a company that doesn't exist anymore? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.